Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather. Today I'd like to talk about the weather health risk for Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. I'm meteorologist Al Peterlin, and we do keep additional graphics at tpatw.com. For those who shop Amazon, we have a patient weather storefront available with educational videos. Looking at the surface map, there's a lot of frontal activity stretching from Montana to Oklahoma, and then from Oklahoma back up to Louisville and swinging back south again to Raleigh. Unsettled weather, especially in the westernmost sections of the Four Corners, picking up Nevada. And then another unsettled weather pattern with a warm front up into the eastern Ohio Valley and the middle Atlantic states. Looking at our vitality index, which is a measure of all of those weather elements that can trigger a weather health event, and we have some activity trying to push into the Pacific Northwest, significant area up the plain, but especially across Kansas and Nebraska, jumping to that confluence of the Mississippi and Ohio River, especially about Tennessee, Kentucky, and southern Illinois. And then jumping to the northeast, we have a significant area of interest from New York across all the remainder of New England. Looking at pressure change, rising pressure can be a significant problem for many with a weather health risk, and we can see that we have rising pressure pushing from the southernmost west sections of British Columbia into Washington state, rising pressure up the plains from really Dallas all the way up through South Dakota, but most significantly in Nebraska and Kansas, jumping to the northeast from New York all the way across New England, picking up New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and a couple of the the Canadian cities north of New York along that border. Looking at temperature change, and this can be a migraine risk for many, and we'll jump right to that confluence of the Mississippi and Ohio, but the most significant risk across western Tennessee, western Kentucky, southern Indiana, and southern Illinois. Looking at POI, which is our measure of the availability of oxygen in the atmosphere, we have a risk of migraine here in British Columbia down into Washington state, but touching a bit of central Oregon. Significant area of migraine risk is across southern California into southern Nevada and picking up westernmost sections of Arizona. Real risk of migraine from Austin to Dallas, and then becoming even more significant from Oklahoma across Kansas, Nebraska, and the South Dakota, with the most intensity again across central Nebraska and central Kansas. We have a final area of migraine risk stretching from New York across Connecticut and Vermont, New Hampshire into Maine, and most of the Canadian cities along the Canadian border here in the Northeast, and New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. Looking at asthma and arthritis, we have a risk of asthma and arthritis here in North Dakota. And then again, back to that confluence of the Mississippi and the Ohio, with the most intense area here between Tennessee, Kentucky, southern Indiana, southern Illinois, and Missouri. But note that area of asthma arthritis risk stretches eastward all the way across Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, the Carolinas, back up through Virginia and West Virginia, picking up even portions of southern Ohio. Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather. Your comments are appreciated. And if you hurt, let us know where you're located.